The December wind cut through Miami's downtown like a blade, and Sophia pulled her thin coat tighter around her shaking frame. She sat on the cold concrete steps of the cathedral where she was supposed to have said "I do" hours ago. Her wedding dress clung to her like a mockery of broken dreams. Expensive shoes against pavement made her look up through tear-blurred vision. Her breath caught as she recognized the man approaching. Ethan Blackwood, Oliver's most dangerous rival. The man she'd been warned about her entire engagement. She scrambled to her feet, heart hammering. Everyone knew the stories about Ethan, the ruthless Mafia boss who controlled half of Miami's underground. But as Ethan stopped 3 feet away, taking in her disheveled state, something shifted in his expression. Not cold calculation, something that looked like concern. "What happened to you?" His voice was deeper than expected, with unexpected gentleness. To follow this incredible journey of unexpected love, join our community. Subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Sophia's first instinct was to run, but her legs felt like jelly. She'd been sitting on these steps for 2 hours, and the Miami winter had seeped into her bones. "I should go," she whispered, stepping backward. "In a wedding dress. At midnight." Ethan's eyebrow arched. "That doesn't seem smart." She knew she should be afraid. Oliver had told her countless stories about this man's capabilities, but standing here now, looking into concerned rather than menacing eyes, she felt confused rather than terrified. "Where's Oliver?" he asked, and the way he said her ex-fiancé's name made it clear there was no love lost between them. Fresh tears spilled at the mention of that name. "I don't want to talk about Oliver." Something dangerous flashed in Ethan's eyes. "Did he hurt you?" The protective edge surprised her. "Not the way you think." Ethan slowly shrugged out of his expensive black jacket. "You're freezing." She stared at the offered jacket. "I can't take that." "Why not?" "Because you're you, and I'm supposed to be afraid of you." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Are you?" She considered seriously. "I don't know." "Fair enough." He stepped closer and draped the jacket around her shoulders. Warmth hit immediately, along with expensive cologne and something uniquely masculine. "Thank you." "My car is around the corner. Let me take you home." "I can't go home." The words escaped before she could stop them. "Why not?" Sophia closed her eyes, humiliation washing over her. "Because my sister is there, with Oliver, in my bed. They've been together for months. I found out this morning, 2 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle." The silence stretched. When she opened her eyes, Ethan's face had gone completely cold. Not toward her, but in a way that made her grateful she wasn't Oliver. "Your sister?" he repeated, voice deadly quiet. "My maid of honor. I found them together on her couch this morning." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. "And Oliver?" "Said it didn't mean anything. That we could still go through with the wedding because the contracts were signed. That his father and mine had worked too hard on this merger for me to ruin it over meaningless sex." Merger. There was something knowing in his tone. My father's construction company and the Torino family business. I wasn't just marrying Oliver, I was sealing a deal. "And now?" "Now I'm homeless, jobless, and apparently worth less than a business transaction." Ethan studied her face. "You found out this morning and the wedding was this afternoon." "I ran before the ceremony started. I've been walking around Miami in a wedding dress for 8 hours. You look like a woman who chose dignity over a convenient lie. That takes courage. It feels like stupidity." "Trust me, it's not." He paused. "Do you have anywhere to go?" Sophia shook her head. "My father controls my trust fund, and Oliver had access to my checking account. I literally have nothing." Ethan pulled out his phone. "Marco, bring the car around, cathedral entrance, and bring a blanket." He hung up and looked at her. "You're coming with me." "I can't. You need a safe place to stay and I have 17 bedrooms. You can pick whichever is farthest from mine." A sleek black SUV pulled up. Marco emerged with a cashmere blanket and approached with respectful deference. "This is Sophia," Ethan said. "She'll be staying at the house." Sophia looked between the blanket, the car, and Ethan's expectant face. Every rational thought told her this was insane. But she was cold, homeless, and heartbroken, and this man had shown her more genuine kindness in 10 minutes than Oliver had in 2 years. "Just for tonight," she heard herself saying. Relief crossed Ethan's features. Just for tonight. But as she slid into the warm interior, catching Ethan's reflection in the window, his expression suggested he was hoping for much more than one night. The Blackwood estate overlooking Biscayne Bay took Sophia's breath away. The house looked like something from a movie, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows sparkling with warm light. "You live in this huge place alone?" she asked. "Just me," Ethan replied. "And the staff." Something flickered across his face. Loneliness, perhaps. "I value privacy." Mrs. Chen appeared at the front door, her kind eyes immediately filling with maternal concern at Sophia's appearance. "Mrs. Chen, this is Sophia. She'll be staying in the blue guest room tonight," Ethan said. "Could you find something that might fit her?" Mrs. Chen assessed Sophia accurately. "Size 6. I'll have everything ready within the hour. And you look like you haven't eaten today, dear." The mention of food made Sophia realize she was starving. "That's very kind." "No trouble at all. I'll prepare something light." The blue guest room was larger than Sophia's entire apartment, decorated in soft blues with French doors leading to a private balcony. After Mrs. Chen left, Sophia stepped onto the balcony where the view of Miami took her breath away. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Ethan appeared with a steaming mug. "Hot chocolate," he said, stepping onto the balcony. "Mrs. Chen thought you might want something warm." The chocolate was rich and perfect. "Thank you for all of this. I know it's strange given that I was supposed to marry your competitor. Is that what Oliver is to you? Competition?" She winced. "He always said you two had bad blood. Did he tell you why?" "Just that your families had territory disputes." Ethan laughed humorlessly. "Territory disputes. Is that what he called it?" Something in his tone made her set down the mug. What really happened? 3 years ago, Oliver decided he wanted control of the waterfront construction contracts. When he couldn't compete fairly, he planted drugs at one of our work sites and called in an anonymous tip to the DEA. Sophia's stomach clenched. "Oh, God. My younger brother Tony was supervising that job. 22 years old, fresh out of college. Tony spent 18 months in federal prison for drug trafficking, a crime he didn't commit." "That's horrible. But how do you know it was Oliver?" "He was stupid enough to brag about it. Someone overheard him laughing about how he'd solved the Blackwood problem. The implications hit her. The construction contracts. That's why he wanted to marry me. Your father's company, combined with Torino Resources, would give Oliver control over almost every major building project in Miami." Ethan turned to her. "You weren't just marrying Oliver. You were giving him the power to destroy what's left of my family's legitimate business." "I had no idea, I swear." "I know. The way you described this morning made that clear. I'm so naive. I actually thought he loved me." "You're wrong about not being special," Ethan said quietly. "Oliver's an idiot if he couldn't see what he had." The sincerity in his voice made her breath catch. "You don't know me. I know you chose dignity over financial security. I know you walked away instead of settling for less than you deserved." His voice dropped. "I know you're brave enough to trust me instead of running screaming. Or incredibly stupid." "Definitely not stupid." Mrs. Chen interrupted with clothes and a warm smile. After they left, Sophia changed into jeans and a grey sweater, both fitting perfectly. Getting out of the wedding dress felt like shedding chains. She was brushing her hair when she heard urgent voices downstairs. Moving to the door, she listened. "Saw the car leave the cathedral," someone was saying. "Oliver's calling in favors, demanding to know where she is." "Let him demand," came Ethan's cold voice. "He made his choice. Boss, taking in Oliver Torino's fiancé on their wedding day will be seen as an act of war. She's not his fiancé anymore. She ended that when she found him with her sister." Sophia's blood ran cold. Act of war. By staying here, she was potentially putting Ethan in danger and giving Oliver exactly the excuse he needed to escalate their conflict. Sophia stood frozen, listening to the conversation below. Every instinct told her to leave immediately, but where could she go? No money, no car, and apparently no family who cared more about her well-being than their business deals. Footsteps on the stairs made her move back into the room. Ethan knocked and appeared with a soup tray. "Mrs. Chen thought you might prefer to eat up here tonight," he said. "More private." "Ethan, I should leave." He went very still. "Why?" "I heard voices downstairs. Someone mentioned Oliver calling in favors, that my being here could be seen as an act of war." She met his eyes. "I can't escalate whatever conflict you already have." Ethan pulled out his phone. "Marco?" "Yeah, she heard." "No, it's fine. Better that she knows." He paused. "Double the night shift. And I want someone watching Oliver's movements." He hung up and looked at her. "Yes, Oliver is angry, but none of that is your fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it is if people get hurt because of me. People might get hurt because Oliver's a spoiled child who doesn't like being told no. That's different. Is it? Maybe I should call him. And then what? Where will you go tomorrow? She had no answer. Sophia, Oliver's anger isn't really about you being here with me. It's about losing control of a situation he thought he'd handled. Ethan leaned forward. He spent 2 years isolating you, gaining access to your family's business. When you left him, you destroyed his entire plan. A man like Oliver doesn't forgive that. So you're saying he'd be angry no matter where I went? I'm saying he'd be dangerous no matter where you went. At least here you're protected. Protected by you. Yes. Why would you risk yourself and your people for someone you just met? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Because when I saw you on those church steps, looking lost, but still fighting to hold yourself together, I recognized something. What? The look of someone betrayed by people they trusted. His jaw tightened. I know what that feels like. Your brother. Among others, my father taught me that family was everything, that loyalty was the most important virtue. When Oliver framed Tony, some of our oldest associates turned their backs on us. Men my father had trusted for decades decided the Torinos were better business partners. That's horrible. It taught me that real loyalty isn't about blood or contracts. It's about doing the right thing when everything would be easier if you walked away, like offering your jacket to a stranger on church steps. He turned with a slight smile. Exactly. The soup was getting cold, but neither seemed to care. I've never had anyone protect me before. Your father sees me as a business asset. When I was little, he'd bring me to construction sites and tell everyone I was going to marry someone important someday. That's a lot of pressure for a child. I thought it meant I was special. It took me 25 years to realize he just saw me as a commodity. You're not a commodity, Ethan said firmly. You're a person with value that has nothing to do with business deals. Their eyes met across the table, and Sophia felt something warm and dangerous shift in her chest. The sharp sound of gravel crunching interrupted them. They moved to the window, and Sophia's stomach dropped when she saw the line of black SUVs pulling through the gates. Oliver, she whispered, stay here. Lock the door after I leave. What are you going to do? Talk to him. What if he doesn't want to talk? Ethan looked at her, and she saw something predatory flicker in his eyes. Then we'll have a different kind of conversation. Promise me you won't come downstairs, whatever happens. The urgency in his voice made her nod. I promise. After he left, Sophia locked the door and moved back to the window. She recognized Oliver's distinctive blonde hair in the security lights. He'd brought enough men to start a war. Voices drifted up from below, growing louder and more heated. She cracked the balcony doors to hear better. My fiancé, not your anything anymore. Sophia, Oliver's voice carried clearly. I know you're in there. Come down so we can talk like adults. She doesn't want to talk to you, came Ethan's steel-hard voice. She's confused about a misunderstanding. You call sleeping with her sister a misunderstanding? That's between Sophia and me. No, Oliver, that's between you and your conscience. Sophia, baby, please come down. We can work this out. Emma didn't mean anything. You know that. The endearment made her stomach turn. 24 hours ago it would have made her smile. Now it felt like manipulation. She's not coming down, Ethan said firmly. This is family business. It doesn't concern you. It concerns me when you bring an army to intimidate a guest. Guest? Looks like you kidnapped my fiancé. Your ex-fiancé left you at the altar after discovering your affair. She came to me for help. And what exactly are you helping her with? The implication made Sophia's face burn with humiliation and anger. She found herself moving toward the door. Oliver's casual dismissal of his betrayal, like it was a minor inconvenience, made her see red. She was halfway down the stairs before Ethan saw her, his eyes widening. Sophia, go back upstairs. No, she said firmly, continuing until she faced Oliver for the first time since that morning. He looked exactly the same. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suit, charming smile. But now she could see the cold calculation underneath. There she is, Oliver said, shifting to smooth charm. Baby, you scared me. Running off like that. Don't call me baby. Don't pretend you were scared. And don't pretend this morning was anything less than what it looked like. Oliver's smile faltered. You're upset. I get that. But we can work through this. Problems? She stepped closer. You call sleeping with my sister a problem. It was a mistake. For months, Oliver, months. How long were you planning to keep making this mistake after we were married? It's not like that. Tell me you love me, Oliver, right now. Look me in the eyes and tell me you love me. He opened his mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched while he struggled with words he couldn't say. "I knew it," Sophia said quietly. "You can't even lie convincingly anymore. Sophia, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. For the first time in 2 years." She gestured around the entryway. "A man I barely know has shown me more genuine kindness in one evening than you managed in 24 months. Oliver's face darkened. "What exactly has he shown you?" "He gave me his jacket when I was cold. He offered food when I was hungry. Shelter when I had nowhere to go. He listened without trying to convince me it was my fault or something I should get over for a business deal." "You're being dramatic. Emma doesn't mean anything." "Emma is my sister. How could you think that wouldn't devastate me? Because it wasn't about you." The words exploded out, raw and honest and infinitely damaging. "It was just sex, Sophia. It had nothing to do with our relationship." The casual cruelty hit like a slap. "I mean the future where you own my father's business, and I pretend not to notice when you cheat? Men have needs." "Stop." Ethan's voice cut like a blade. "You need to leave, now." Oliver seemed to remember they had an audience. "Sophia, we can discuss this privately. He's not a stranger. In one evening, he's been more honest with me than you were in 2 years. What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know about Tony Blackwood, about the planted drugs and federal charges, about how you destroyed an innocent man's life to steal construction contracts." Oliver went very still. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter? It's true, isn't it? Business is business. I understand that you're a liar, a cheat, and apparently a criminal. I understand that marrying you would have been the biggest mistake of my life. You're making the biggest mistake right now." Oliver's charm was completely gone. "Walking away from our marriage, your family, your future? For what? A fantasy that he actually cares about you?" "That's enough." Ethan stepped forward, his men shifting into ready positions. "No, she should know what she's getting into." "You think he's being kind? He's using you to hurt me. The second this gets boring, you'll be back on the street with nothing." "Get out," Ethan said, deadly quiet. "Ask him about Maria Santos, Sophia. Ask him what happens to women who get caught in the middle." The sound of Ethan's fist connecting with Oliver's jaw echoed like a gunshot. Oliver stumbled backward, blood streaming from his nose, and suddenly everyone was moving. Oliver's men reached for weapons. Ethan's security appeared from nowhere, and Sophia found herself in the middle of a potential war zone. "Stop!" she screamed. "Everyone just stop!" Amazingly, they did. Every person froze, weapons half drawn. "Oliver," she said quietly, "you need to leave before this gets worse." "Sophia." "No. You said what you came to say. I've said what I needed to say. There's nothing left. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make." One of Oliver's bodyguards stepped forward. "Boss, we should go." Oliver looked around at men clearly prepared to kill or die. Then his gaze landed on Sophia. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "It is." After Oliver left, the silence was deafening. Ethan dismissed his security team, leaving them alone. "Are you okay?" he asked. She considered the question. "I don't know, but I'm better than I was this morning." Relief crossed Ethan's face. "Good. What Oliver said about Maria Santos?" "Not tonight," he said quietly. "Tonight has been enough trauma." She wanted to push, but exhaustion was catching up. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her emotionally raw. "You should sleep. Tomorrow we can figure out what comes next." "What comes next?" The phrase carried weight she wasn't ready to examine. "Will you be okay? What if Oliver comes back?" "He won't. Not tonight. He'll need time to regroup." As they climbed the stairs, Sophia studied Ethan's profile. He'd risked everything for her. He'd faced down an armed confrontation rather than hand her over to a man who felt entitled to her. "Thank you," she said at her door. "For what?" "For letting me handle that myself. For not trying to speak for me. It was your choice to make. Oliver never would have let me speak for myself." "I know." They stood facing each other in the hallway, and Sophia felt that dangerous warmth again. Ethan had seen her at her worst and never made her feel ashamed or weak. "Good night, Sophia." "Good night, Ethan." But as she closed her door, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change again, and this time she wasn't sure she was ready for it. Sophia woke to sunlight and waves against rocks. For a moment she couldn't remember where she was. Then yesterday came flooding back. The wedding that wasn't, Oliver's betrayal, Ethan's unexpected kindness, the confrontation that could have ended in bloodshed. She checked the clock. 9:47 a.m. 10 hours of peaceful sleep, the first in weeks. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Ethan appeared with a breakfast tray, looking impeccable in dark jeans and a white shirt. "Good morning," he said, setting the tray by the window. "I hope you slept well. Better than I have in months." She pulled her robe tighter. "You didn't need to bring breakfast." Mrs. Chen insisted. "She said you needed proper food after yesterday." Sophia joined him at the table, aware her hair was messy and she wasn't wearing makeup. With Oliver, she'd learned to always look perfect. But Ethan's expression held only warmth. "How are you feeling?" he asked as she poured coffee. "Confused. Yesterday feels like it happened to someone else. Regrets," she considered while adding cream. "About Oliver?" "None. About putting you in danger. I'm sorry about last night. You had every right to speak for yourself. But it escalated things. Oliver's threat that this isn't over. Oliver makes a lot of threats. Most are empty posturing. And the ones that aren't? I can handle Oliver. What I'm more concerned about is what you want to do next." She took a bite of perfect eggs Benedict. "I need to find somewhere to live, get a job, figure out how to rebuild from nothing. You don't have nothing. I have borrowed clothes and whatever's in my purse. Oliver wasn't wrong. I gave up my independence. I quit my job, let him take over my finances, isolated myself from friends because they weren't appropriate connections. What did you do before?" "I was a kindergarten teacher at a private school in Coral Gables. I loved it, but Oliver convinced me the hours weren't compatible with being engaged to him." The bitterness surprised her. "I was good at it. The kids, the families, they trusted me. Could you go back?" "Maybe. If the position is still open, if they'd take me back." She shrugged. "It's worth trying." Ethan was quiet, studying her. "What if you didn't have to worry about money right away? What if you had time to figure out what you really wanted?" "What do you mean?" "Stay here. For a while. Until you get back on your feet." Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because it's insane. Because we barely know each other. Because people will assume." She trailed off, face heating. "Assume what?" "That there's something between us. Romantically. Would that be so terrible?" The quiet question hit her like electricity. She set down her cup with unsteady hands. "Ethan, I know it's fast. I know yesterday was traumatic and you're vulnerable and the timing is wrong, but I need you to know what I feel when I look at you has nothing to do with Oliver or business or revenge. What do you feel when you look at me?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Like I've been waiting for you without knowing it. Like maybe all the loneliness of the last few years was just waiting for you to sit on those church steps so I could find you." Her heart hammered. "That's crazy. Probably. We've known each other less than 24 hours. I know. I just left Oliver. I'm emotionally traumatized and financially dependent." "Sophia." His voice was gentle but firm. "Stop talking." "Why?" "Because you're trying to logic yourself out of something that doesn't follow logic. I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm asking you to stay long enough to figure out what you want your life to look like. And if what I want includes you, then we'll figure that out together." "And if it doesn't?" Something flickered in his expression. Pain, but also acceptance. "Then I'll help you start whatever life you choose." The sincerity undid something in her chest. Oliver had never offered her choices. He'd presented a life plan and expected her to fit into it. But Ethan was offering time, space, and freedom to decide. "People will talk. Let them talk. Your business. We'll survive some gossip. Oliver is no longer your problem unless you choose to make him your problem." Ethan reached across and covered her hand with his. His skin was warm, slightly rough, completely gentle. "I'm not Oliver. I won't try to change you or control you. If you stay, it's because you choose to. If you leave, I'll respect that too." Tears pricked her eyes. "What if I'm just scared and running toward the first person who was kind to me? Then you're human, and we'll figure it out as we go." Mrs. Chen interrupted, appearing in the doorway looking apologetic. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Blackwood, there's a situation." Ethan immediately shifted to business mode. "What kind?" "The young woman's father is here, with several men, and what appears to be a legal document." Sophia's stomach dropped. "My father? He's quite determined to speak with you. He's threatening legal action if we don't allow access." Ethan stood immediately. "Where is he?" "The front gate. Security is holding them there, but he's demanding entry." Sophia felt familiar panic rising. Her father in business mode was a force of nature. He's probably here about the merger, to make me go back to Oliver. That's not going to happen, Ethan said firmly. You don't know my father, he's very persuasive. So am I. Ethan's smile was sharp and confident. Do you want to see him? The question surprised her. Oliver would have already decided. I don't know. What if he disowns me? Then he's an idiot who doesn't deserve you. Easy for you to say, you've never disappointed Robert Morrison. Ethan crouched beside her chair, so they were eye level. You are not a disappointment. You are a strong, intelligent woman who refused to accept a life that would make you miserable. Any father worth the title would be proud of that courage. She wanted to believe him. What if I see him and he convinces me to leave? Do you think he could? She considered seriously. 24 hours ago, the answer would have been yes. But sitting here in Ethan's house, making her own choices for the first time. No, she said, surprised by her certainty. I don't think he could. Then let's go deal with Robert Morrison. As they walked downstairs together, Sophia felt anticipation rather than her usual dread. For the first time, she was going to face her father as an equal rather than a disappointment, and she wasn't facing him alone. At the front door, Ethan paused. Whatever he says, whatever threats he makes, remember that you have choices now. You're not trapped anymore. I know, she said, and meant it. Good. Then let's show him what his daughter is really capable of. The gates opened, and Robert Morrison's Mercedes drove up like a declaration of war. But Sophia wasn't afraid of the battle. She had something worth fighting for now. She had herself. And maybe, if she was very lucky, she might also have Ethan. Her father emerged with his lawyers, his face set in disappointed authority, preparing to issue ultimatums. But Sophia Morrison was done accepting ultimatums. It was time to write her own story instead. The confrontation with her father was everything Sophia had expected, and nothing like she'd feared. Robert Morrison arrived with legal documents, moral outrage, and absolute certainty that his daughter would come to her senses and honor her obligations. He left an hour later with those same documents unsigned, his moral authority in tatters, and the growing realization that he no longer knew his daughter at all. Standing in Ethan's entryway, watching her father's car disappear down the drive, Sophia felt something she'd never experienced before. Complete freedom from other people's expectations. How do you feel? Ethan asked quietly. Terrified, she admitted, and exhilarated, and completely uncertain about everything except, she turned to look at him, except that I want to stay, here, with you, for however long you'll have me. Something that looked like relief and joy and surprise all mixed together crossed his face. Are you sure? I'm sure that I want to find out what this could be. I'm sure that you make me feel brave and safe and valued in ways I didn't know were possible. She stepped closer. I'm sure that whatever we build together will be something I choose, not something that happens to me. And I'm sure, Ethan said, reaching up to cup her face in his hands, that finding you was the best thing that ever happened to me. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home and beginning an adventure, all at the same time. 3 days later, Oliver was arrested on federal drug trafficking charges. The evidence Tony provided was devastating, and the case that had destroyed his life became the key to his vindication. A month after that, Sophia and Ethan were on a plane to Italy, leaving Miami and all its complications behind. They bought a villa in Tuscany with a vineyard that had been neglected for decades and set about the slow, satisfying work of bringing it back to life. Mrs. Chen, Marco, and Tony followed them within 6 months, choosing love and loyalty over geography. They became a family, not of blood, but of choice, building something beautiful from the ashes of their old lives. 6 months later, the morning sun filtered through their Tuscan villa's windows as Sophia stretched in bed, reaching for Ethan's warmth. She found only empty sheets, but smiled, knowing exactly where he'd be. She found him on the terrace overlooking their vineyard, coffee in hand, architectural plans spread across the table, papers for their construction company, immigration documents, the beautiful bureaucracy of building a legitimate life together. Good morning, beautiful, he said without turning. How do you always know it's me? Your footsteps, light but determined, like everything else about you. He turned in her arms, eyes warm with contentment. It takes a determined woman to convince a Miami Mafia boss to become a wine farmer. You're not a wine farmer. You're a businessman who happens to own a vineyard. Is there a difference? The businessman employs half the province. The vineyard is just an expensive hobby. His smile was the same one that had stopped her heart on church steps. but now it belonged entirely to her. Have a little faith, Mrs. Blackwood. The name still sent a thrill through her. A small ceremony in their garden, with Mrs. Chen as maid of honor and Marco as best man. No press, no politics, no family drama, just them and their chosen family. When his phone buzzed, Ethan declined the call without hesitation and turned it off completely. "The Miami situation?" she asked. "Oliver's trial starts next month. Tony's testimony should be enough to convict. He's talking about law school, wants to help other wrongfully convicted people. And my father, still fighting the contract dissolution, but without Oliver, there's not much he can do. The court's ruled in your favor." "We're both free," she said. "We're both free." A red Fiat pulled up their drive, and Sophia's heart leaped, recognizing the driver. Mrs. Chen emerged with Marco and Tony, all grinning widely. "Surprise," Mrs. Chen called. "Hope you don't mind unexpected guests." Within an hour, their too-quiet villa was filled with laughter and plans for renovation, family dinners, and the kind of chaos that comes from people who love each other, choosing to build a life together. "Happy?" Ethan asked as they watched Tony enthusiastically explain sustainable building techniques, while Mrs. Chen debated furniture arrangements with Marco. Sophia looked around at their chosen family, their beautiful home, their peaceful life built far from violence and complications. "Ridiculously happy," she admitted, "almost suspiciously happy." "It's real," Ethan assured her, kissing her knuckles. "We're real." As they walked into their villa surrounded by laughter and love, Sophia reflected on the journey from cold church steps to warm Tuscan morning. She'd lost a fiancé who never loved her, a father who saw her as commodity, and a life that would have slowly strangled her spirit. But she'd gained a husband who cherished her exactly as she was, a chosen family who'd followed love across an ocean, and a future filled with endless possibility. The Tuscan sun climbed higher over their vineyard, promising another perfect day in their perfectly imperfect, wonderfully ordinary, completely extraordinary life. And Sophia Blackwood smiled, knowing the best was yet to come. This story of unexpected love and second chances has reached its end. If it touched your heart, please like and share with someone who enjoys emotional stories. New stories arrive soon. Until next time.